Hello and welcome to A Legendary Mentality. Today we're going to be talking about self-confidence and confidence in general. So, confidence isn't something you're born with, all right? Even if someone's told you that, it's not true. You're not born with it. It doesn't magically appear either after life gets easier. Sometimes we can have a level of increase on our self-confidence um, by life becoming easier, but a lot of times it's a false confidence. And we'll also talk about some false confidences as well at some point because you may have actually experienced that at some point. Um, but confidence is something you build, something you nurture and grow every single day if you're working on it. And the good news is that no matter where you're starting, no matter who you are, you can be confident. You can be as confident as you want to be. It just takes work, it just takes sacrifice, and it just takes consistent efforts. All right? So don't give up on yourself at all if you've got low confidence right now. That's not a big deal. That's something we can absolutely fix. All right? So today we're going to dive deep into what could be holding you back. We're going to figure out how to break free from that, and we're going to learn how to take steps and become a more confident version of yourself. I'll guide you through questions. I'll have you write some journal entries. I'll have some actionable tips, and at the end, I will give you a 7-day challenge to help build and spark real change in your self-confidence. Sound good? By the end of this video, you'll not only understand confidence better on a deeper level, but you'll, like I said, have actionable steps as well as journal prompts and proven techniques to help you start transforming your self-belief today, which is the whole point, right? Let's start by understanding where you're at. I want you to grab your journal because in this session, like most of my other sessions, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I want you to journal this stuff, and I want you to actually write down your answers so that you can come back to this later if you decide to. All right. So go grab your pen and paper. All right. Welcome back. All right. So when was the last time you felt truly confident? Write down the moment, what you were doing, who you were with, and how did it feel? How did you feel during that moment? And was it a big moment, a small moment? So go ahead and pause this video and write that down. Welcome back. All right, so now I want you to think about a situation where you didn't feel confident. What were you doing? Who were you with? And how did that feel? And also, what was happening? Why do you think this situation triggers doubt? Take a few minutes, pause this video, and write those answers down as well, and then come back and we'll go ahead and continue about a couple of confidence myths. All right, welcome back. So, myth number one is that confident people never doubt themselves, and this is the absolute furthest from the truth. This is proven all the time by professional athletes that lose confidence or have self-doubt and have to go to a professional mentality coach or a therapist. Actually, did a video or shared a video not that long ago about Draymond Green, where after even 10 years plus of being in the NBA, was still struggling to have confidence in his three-point shot. And he went to a mental coach to help figure that out and why that was. And it actually increased his three-point shooting percentage by 10 to 20%. And he did some physical work in there as well, but he said the biggest part of it was mental. It was a mental block that when he would miss two or three, he just felt like he couldn't shoot anymore because he didn't want to keep missing. But now it took some real effort to overcome that in games and be able to overcome that block. And now he has. So that's really cool. But there have been many other examples of that. I mean, Michael Jordan went to his mental coach in the middle of the playoffs one time to get a boost and to try to get his mind back on track, and it actually helped. He went out and he performed and won. There's a plethora of stories of elite top athletes who deal with self-doubt and a lack of confidence from time to time. So it's normal, it's human, it's a part of how we have feelings, we have emotions, and we have a brain, that doesn't always work the way we want it to work. Another myth is that you have to accomplish something big to grow confidence. And that is definitely not true. And actually, sometimes building confidence by using accomplishments can actually be a real negative. It can actually backfire on you. You take a college team, this happens a lot of times in college sports actually, where they'll play a lesser school and they'll obliterate them, like they'll beat them badly. And then they'll go into the next game with a bunch of confidence against a good team and end up losing. And it's not because they weren't confident, but it was because they were overly confident. They had a false confidence because they had played a lesser opponent and beat them. So they just thought they could basically come out and beat this other team pretty easily as well. And so that's a form of false confidence. So good self-confidence and self-belief comes from small wins over time, or simply building it up by using the right techniques and strategies, which is what we're going to talk about and learn today. All right. So now that we've identified some areas to work on, let's look at what the science tells us about self-confidence and how we can use it to our advantage, because that's really the golden nugget, right? Science says that confidence is not a personality trait. It's not something you're born with. It's actually a skill, which is great because that means that you can build it, like we talked about already. Studies show that it's tied to something called self-efficacy. And that's your belief in your ability to succeed in a specific situation. So if you've failed and failed and failed, or you've tripped up, many times in this same situation, the chances are you don't have a lot of confidence in that situation to perform it at a high level, right? So we're going to talk about some different ways that you can overcome that and fix that. Even if you've failed at it 150,000 times, how can you overcome that and change that self-confidence so that you are confident in those moments, especially if you've already trained for them and it's just mental at this point. All right, so we're going to go into some of those strategies and some of those techniques here in just a little bit. But the more you practice and succeed, even in small ways, the stronger this belief comes. And this is tricky because there are a lot of people who feel like they can practice their way into elite self-confidence. And for a very select few, that may be okay and that may work, but for most of us, that's not going to be enough. Now, you absolutely do have to do the physical work in order to build self-confidence, because if you don't have the skills, you're not going to truly perform at that high level, even if you have the confidence, right? But with that being said, self-confidence itself can actually overcome a lower level of skill. So you could take someone who has less skill but more confidence, and they can actually outperform someone who has more skill and less confidence. So it's proven all the time. I see it all the time in sports. I've been seeing it for years, and it is definitely a problem for some kids. So again, we're going to talk about some different ways though that you can fix that. But for now, let's try a couple of different things right here on the spot. I want to try a couple of different short exercises with you to see how this feels. And this doesn't involve writing, all right? So you can forget about that part right now. But a Harvard study showed that standing in a powerful pose for just 2 minutes lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, and boosts testosterone, the confidence hormones. So your challenge is to stand up right now. And you can pause this video if you need to. You will have to, because you need to do this for 2 minutes. But after I get done telling you what to do, go ahead and pause this for 2 minutes and do this exercise. I want you to stand up like a superhero, feet wide, hands on your hips, chest up. Hold it for 2 minutes. And how does that feel? Just pay attention to how that feels for you after 2 minutes. All right, I'll be back. Or you'll be back, I guess. Okay, welcome back. Now, I want you to try another one while you're standing up still, or have you stand back up again, I guess. And that is, I want you to stand up, and I want you to, again, pause this video because you're going to do this for 2 minutes as well. Stand up and slouch your shoulders with a normal face, just a normal face, however your face is normally. Stand up, slouch your shoulders, and hold that for a minute or two, and feel how that feels. And then I want you to stand up straight, shoulders back, straight shoulders, and put a smile on your face, and see the difference, and see if you can feel the difference between the two. All right, go try that. All right, welcome back. So, everybody's not going to feel something drastic with this. Everybody's not going to feel something insane, but absolutely, it is. If you did feel something, then you can see how just one little change can make a difference, right? So if you didn't feel anything, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You still are fine, okay? You're still going to be all right. So the next thing is that failure, it's about reframing your mind, all right? And failure isn't the opposite of success. It's actually a stepping stone. And Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed once. I have just found 10,000 different ways that won't work." So, and there's a lot of power behind that, honestly. Like, when you know that your failures don't define you, like your failures are not who you are as a person. So that allows you to fail without feeling like it's the end of the world. When you expect that you're not perfect and that you're going to make mistakes, it opens up a world of opportunities for you to just go out and try things and have fun and just enjoy it more. So there's a lot of truth and a lot of power in what Thomas Edison says. Now, I personally don't have a problem with the word failure. Some people do. It hits everyone differently. And if it hits you differently and it hits you bad and like it really tears you down, then just find different ways to call it something else, because it's still the same thing, right? It still is a mistake, a failure, a mishap, whatever you want to call it. But the real thing is not allowing it to define who you are, or not allowing it to define how you think about yourself, all right? So here's another journal entry. I know I said I was going to make you write, but that was for that one, all right? So you're definitely going to be writing more in the future. That's just part of how it goes, right? That's part of building your mind to be powerful. So think of a recent failure, and you can pause the video if you need to again. Think of a recent failure. What did you learn from it? And how could it help you in the future? So how can you use that failure? How can you use that mistake to help you in the future become better and not repeat the same thing? All right, welcome back. And the next thing is actually going to be a part of your 7-day challenge. So you don't need to pause the video and work on this one right now, but I'm just going to tell you about it. And that is to write 3 small wins each day, so that because that can help rewire your brain and focus on what you're doing right, not just what you're doing wrong. The way I usually do this is I usually write 3 things that I did really well, and then I'll write 1 thing that I didn't do well, so that I know that I need to work on that. And that works for me. Sometimes people will do 5 and 2 or 10 and 3. I mean, you can do it however you want, but there should always be more positives, more successes than there should be failures in your list, all right? Because that's basically what that's doing, is it's rewiring your subconscious to focus on the positives, to focus on the things you're doing good, even in the moment, rather than only the bad. And that doesn't mean that you won't think about the bad, because you should to some degree. But it's just rewiring how you think about each one, positive and negative. All right? So now that we understand what builds confidence, let's talk about practical steps to rewire your mindset and habits. We just talked about a couple of different ones, and those are huge things that you can do for sure. But let's talk about a few more, right? Self-awareness is probably one of the trickiest, but one of the most important things you could ever work on for yourself, ever. Period. If there's one thing that I would tell you to do, it would be to become self-aware, because Self-awareness can change a lot of things for you. Self-awareness can help you understand yourself on a deeper level. It can help you make a lot of changes that you otherwise may not make. But the trick is that a lot of people right now feel like they're self-aware and they're not. Of course, there are plenty of people who do think they're self-aware, and they are. So it's a tricky thing, and really, without having a good support system around you, without having a good village around you, or a coach in your corner, someone to keep you accountable, and someone to help you know whether you're actually doing the right things or being actually self-aware, it can be difficult. It's very hard to self-assess our self-awareness. Because of course we want ourselves to be as good as possible, right? We want ourselves to be as perfect as possible. So we're naturally going to be inclined to have a little bit of a bias. Now that's not true for everybody. Of course, some people are straight up, they're like, hey, I have no self-awareness, and that's okay. But if you don't have very good self-awareness, or you don't have a high level of self-awareness, that is something you definitely want to work on. And you can check out one of my other videos that is specifically about self-awareness, because it is that important. All right. But anyways, confidence starts by knowing yourself. And the more you know yourself, the more confident you are with yourself, right? So we want to challenge the beliefs that could be holding you back. And here's a prompt for you to write down. And actually, if you want to, you can go ahead and pause the video and do this. You don't have to, but I would suggest going ahead and probably pause the video and writing this down so that you don't get overwhelmed later on. But write down the number one thing you believe about yourself that limits your confidence. All right? Is it that you're not smart enough, that you're not skilled enough, that you're too small, that you're too weak, that you're not strong enough, you're too shy? Write it all down. All right? But what's the number one thing that you believe about yourself that limits your confidence? Your confidence. Now, ask yourself after you write that down, what's the evidence? Where is the evidence? Is this 100% true? Is there facts and obvious proof that tells me this is 100% true? Or is it just a story that you keep telling yourself? And this is going to be tricky, and this is going to be extremely powerful, because this can be hard to figure out without help sometimes. If you're not very self-aware, it's going to be hard for you to know whether there's true evidence to support this or not. You might have a tendency to just create evidence that doesn't really exist, or just believe that there is evidence that exists even though you don't have it. So, but that's what I want you to do with this question. So pause and think about this really hard, and think about, is there evidence, concrete, provable evidence that anyone could look at and say, okay, yes, you are that thing, you are that way. All right, pause it, take it away. All right, welcome back. Now, something else I want to say about that as well, about the whole self-awareness and, knowing yourself and your tendencies and those types of things, is that, and I'm going to go off a little bit the rails here, but if you have a tendency to say things like, oh, I'm just not a patient person, or I have no patience, or I'm scared of everything, or like that terrifies me, I'm terrified of this, I'm terrified of that. Like, those are not good statements. Those are bad statements to say to yourself, because all you're doing is driving home that thing that you don't really want to be if you want to be successful, and if you want to achieve big dreams and big goals, right? Or any dreams or goals for that matter. So be careful about the things like that you say to yourself, or even to others about yourself, because that is solidifying who you are. That is making you be that way, and you don't have to be. So you could be the most impatient person in the world, but if you want patience, you can learn patience. You can teach yourself patience. If you're not very confident, you're super shy, and you can't talk to anybody, and you want to be different, you can be different. But it takes work. It does take sacrifice, and it does take effort. That's the key. It takes consistent effort to overcome and change these types of things, because it's built deep into your subconscious, and you've got to change that. You've got to get deep into your subconscious to change it. All right. So the next thing is that confidence doesn't come from waiting for the perfect moment. It comes from taking small, consistent steps. Like I've mentioned several times already, it's about consistency, right? Like you've got to have the consistency to build self-confidence and self-belief. So if you're shy, start by saying hello to someone new. Literally just walk up to somebody in the store and be like, hey, how are you doing? Or just be like, how are you doing today? That's it. And then you don't even have to say anything back. Like, just keep it that simple. If you hesitate to take a shot in a game, make yourself take that shot. Even if you airball it, who cares? It's one shot, like make yourself take that shot. These are easy, well, not easy necessarily, but these are small ways that you can help yourself overcome and become more confident in your ability to overcome these lack of confidence or low confidence and low self-belief moments. If you doubt your skills, spend 10 minutes working on something or practicing something to make you improve it. So like if you want to get better at dribbling, dribble for 10 minutes a day for 2 months and tell me that you don't get better. You're going to get a lot better. If you struggle with reading, read 5 pages a day, no matter how hard it is, for the next 2 months and tell me that you don't get better at reading. Like, if you're not a great jumper, work on exercises that increase your strength in your legs and your torso, and for 2 months, and tell me that you don't jump higher. Like, it's that simple. That you really, if you struggle with something or you have doubt in a specific area, start working on that area, start practicing on that area, and you're going to get better. If you are shy about talking to people, you can practice that in a mirror. You can literally practice having conversations with people in a mirror to build confidence in your ability to have those conversations. So it's really just about realizing what the issue is, realizing where you lack confidence, and then finding little ways to be consistently working towards being more confident and more belief in yourself in those areas. All right? So, what's one small action you can take today to move forward towards something you've been avoiding? So, like I've mentioned before, it could be a drill, it could be a skill, it could be a people skill, it could be a relationship, it could be a conversation, it could be a number of things, of course. But what's one small action you can take today to move yourself towards something that you've been avoiding? Write it down and commit to doing it. So go ahead and pause this video for a few seconds or a few minutes, whatever you need to do. Write that down and commit to doing it. All right? One small action you can take today to move towards something you've been avoiding. All right, so welcome back. And so now we're going to shift gears a little bit to something that's really, really cool and really fun. And I love this. All right. And actually, I have a whole video on this because this is also extremely important. As a lot of these things, I have whole videos on going more in depth with them. But this one is about visualization. So your mind doesn't distinguish between imagination and reality. When you visualize yourself succeeding, your brain creates a roadmap for making it happen. So that's pretty cool. So basically when you visualize and you learn to visualize well, you start really actually rewiring and recreating your brain's pathways so that you are more aligned with where you want to go and where you want to be or who you want to be. So, it's crazy. Our brains are so powerful. Most people don't even realize how powerful our brains are. But visualizing is one way to really help create more confidence and more self-belief. And so here's how you can do that. Here's just a short tip on how to do it. Close your eyes and visualize yourself in a situation where you usually feel lack of confidence or lack of belief in yourself. Picture yourself crushing it, like no one can defeat you. What are you wearing? How do you feel? What are some smells? What are sounds you might hear? And how do others respond to your performance or to you overcoming this obstacle? So close your eyes and visualize yourself in a situation where you usually feel less confident, and picture yourself crushing it in great detail using all of your senses. Now, do this as much as you possibly can, and you will find that it will help increase your confidence. But again, this is not a one-shot thing. Like, you can't just do this once a week. You can't just do this and nothing else. You really need to put it all together to truly build yourself up and to build yourself with a great foundation that is unshakable confidence, unshakable belief, which is where we want to get you to. All right. So the next thing is a journal prompt. And I want you to write about this vision, this visualization. I want you to write about it as if it already happened. So describe every detail in present tense or past tense as though it's already happened or happening. So I am, hitting the game-winning shot, or I hit the game-winning shot for that game, or I hit the game-winning score, or I ran the fastest out of everybody in my state. Like, write down it as it's happened or as it's happening in your journal, right? And the more detailed, the better. Another thing is, celebrating small wins. And we've kind of touched on this already a little bit earlier, but confidence grows when you recognize progress. Even the smallest wins truly matter. So, like we mentioned before, the big wins can actually help you, but they can hurt you as well, depending on how you handle them. In the small wins, it's the same thing. Small wins can absolutely negatively impact you depending on how you look at them and deal with them, and they can absolutely build you up and explode your confidence depending on how you use them or deal with them. So one thing I want you to do is every night for the next week, I want you to write down one thing you're proud of, no matter how small. One thing you're proud of yourself for that you did that day or that week. All right. So the last thing we're going to talk about before we get into the 7-day challenge and close this up is that your body language and your voice say a lot and do a lot for your self-confidence and your self-belief. All right. And that may seem weird and it may seem hard to believe, but I'm telling you it's true. Just like earlier you did your experiment where you held the pose and you stood up straight and you smiled, and you may or may not have felt massive differences. You may have felt small differences, or you may have not felt any, but that's how powerful it is. That experiment for most people would be able to tell them something is different about body language and how you handle yourself, how you carry yourself, and how you talk to other people, and how you talk about yourself. So your body tells your mind how to feel. Stand tall, speak slowly, and watch how it changes your internal state. Watch how you immediately come more confident in yourself and in the things that you're saying to other people and the things that you're doing. So something that you can do to practice this is practice speaking in a deeper, steadier voice for 1 minute a day. Record yourself if you can and notice the difference. Like, record yourself saying upbeat things in an upbeat tone in a deeper voice and see if it doesn't feel differently. And if you can, also smile while you're saying it. Smile while you're saying these things. And smile while you're talking. That can make a big difference as well. So now let's get into the 7-day challenge. All right. So for the 7-day challenge, some of these are things that I already mentioned, like I said earlier, that you're going to do. So some of these are going to seem repetitive, but on a separate sheet of paper or on a separate page in your journal, I want you to write these 7 things down, because these are things that I really want you to do each and every day. Some of these I want you to do every day, and some of these you'll just do once for the whole week or maybe twice for the week. All right. Day 1, I want you to write down your biggest limiting belief and reframe it into a positive one. Write down your biggest limiting belief and reframe it into a positive one. So this could be that, I'm never going to be tall enough to, make it to the NBA. And you can reframe that as in saying, I may not be as tall as others, but I can outwork and I can out-hustle everyone else, making up for my height difference. So that's a way you can change a limiting belief or a negative into a positive. So day 2, practice a power pose for 2 full minutes. And after you do this on the second day, I want you to do this every day from there on out. All right. The day 1, you don't need to do every single day. But I would encourage you to do it every day because it's still very impactful. In the power pose, you can do whatever power pose you want to. It doesn't matter. Day 3, I want you to take one small action toward a fear or goal. And I said fear or goal because they're not obviously the same. Like you can have a fear of talking to strangers, and that's not a goal, obviously. So, if a fear could be the main thing holding you back, but I want you to take one small action toward a fear or a goal on day 3. And then again, from that one, I want you to carry it on for the rest of the week. All right, so each day you're going to add things on that you're going to do. Day 4, journal 3 wins for the day, no matter how small they are. 3 wins. No negatives right now, just 3 wins for the day, no matter how small they are. All right. Day 5, visualize your future self crushing a goal. Visualize yourself in as much detail using all your senses, crushing a goal. And check out my video on visualization. Day 6, I want you to strike up a short conversation with someone completely new, someone completely random, someone you have no idea who they are. And it doesn't have to be anything long. It can just be like, hey, how are you? How are you doing today? Something like that. All right. And if you don't have a problem or you're not struggling with that, then that's fine. Just double down on one of these other days and do it in the morning and night or something like that. Day 7, reflect on your progress and celebrate your growth. This one's huge because I want you to, if you do all of this all week long, then on the 7th day, you look at what you've done and what you've accomplished and how much work you've put in to your self-confidence and your self-belief. It should be very easy to be happy with that growth, and it should be very easy to pat yourself on the back and feel more confident and more self-belief just because of the work you've put in. So do all 7 of those for the next week, and make sure you check out some of my other videos. Remember that confidence isn't about being perfect. It's not about failures defining who you are. You define who you are no matter what failures you have or no matter what level of confidence you have. So confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up even when it's hard. Every small step you take builds momentum, and every win, no matter how small, proves to you that you're capable. So if this session helps you, hit the like, subscribe, and share your insights in the comments below. Let's grow together. Remember, confidence is a skill. You can absolutely be as confident as you want to be. Just don't be arrogant, all right? Don't be arrogant. Be as confident as you want to be. You've got this. Now go out there and own it.